GM tries to punish me with high skill checks. I beat the odds. He demands re-roll. I beat the odds again. GM then proceeds to railroad me to failure. So this happened 10 plus years ago, and always sat with me as the biggest abuse of a GM on player thing. The Redacted is more for funsies, cause it is a group of homegrown terrorist budget black ops hunter operators doing stuff. System NWOD. If you are not familiar, it uses D10s for everything. You roll a predetermined amount of D10s and count up the 8s, the 9s, and the 10s. You get to re-roll 10s as well. Backstory. I accidentally made a combat beast in the previous game. Honestly, accidentally. First time ever tabletopping. Story for another time, but the GM was pretty pissed about it. Setting. Early 2000s. Hunters kicking butt and killing otherworldly threats on the streets of Los Angeles. Think Supernatural, but instead of different races, you have different organizations you come from. These organizations are less Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and more budget Men in Black type outfits. My character. A reckless midlife crisis having trust fund baby. I try to do good and fight the horrors of the night after generic tragic backstory. Painfully, embarrassingly generic. Someone in our game usually ends up as Bankroll. I figured I would be our sponsor this time. Also meant other players get more freedom to invest in skills, inexpensive gear, and do cool shit. After dominating combat in last game, I figured I could give others limelight opportunities. Let's call him Jack. Story. We just finished clearing out a nest of cultists and eldritch horrors at the Korean Friendship Bell. We took some time to spend our hard-earned experience, staying away from combat perks. Jack opts to buy this cool ability from his hunter org, Chiron. It replaces his eyes with the organ harvested from an actual devil. Functionally, Jack looks the same, unless he uses it. Then his eyes do funky Naruto anime stuff. Mechanically, Jack can see emotions and auras. Makes it easier to spot supernatural things, deception, etc. Purely social advantage. The book suggests wearing sunglasses if you use it in public. Next up, the party meets with an NPC that is part of this Lucifuge. Demonic touch people. Think Sam from Supernatural. Jack, eager to try this new ability, activates it when we get there, mainly out of new thing excitement, partly because campaign has already had a habit of things are not always as they seem. Jack also had sunglasses on. Nothing in book says it is detectable. Not trying to rules lawyer here, just setting the stage. The drama. GM claims that, without a roll mind you, the NPC was instantly aware and deeply offended that Jack did that because reasons. Something about NPC being a Lucifuge means that we'll always automatically know. Somehow DM did not clarify. NPC calls Jack out, Jack apologizes, and gets all Don Quixote sheepish. Scene goes on. At the end, we are sent into what will very obviously be a combat scenario. On her way out, she asks that Jack stays back. He tries to decline and Jack leaves with the group. Without another roll, GM says NPC stops Jack from leaving. Jack was very shy and abashed about being caught earlier, would not meet NPC's gaze. GM then says she looks directly into your eyes and casts Gaze of the Penitent. GM NPCs have a habit of being stupidly OP so the DC would be high. I rolled 4 dice. I still remember this to this day. Out of 4 D10s, I rolled an 8 and 2 10s. I got to re-roll the 10s, and one came up as a 9. I got 4 successes, which is really fucking good. Jack gets 4 successes. What? I don't believe it. I saw you re-roll 2 of your d10s. You must have cheated. Things got heated. I was pissed at being called a liar. Ultimately, I agreed to re-roll because fuck it. This story will only move forward if you re-roll and take the new roll. With 2 other table mates watching, I roll again. A 6, and I shit you not, 3 10s. I re-rolled the 3 and got another 2 successes. With witnesses, I got 5 successes, which is the equivalent in our campaign to really unlikely nat 20 on a save. Regardless of the context, if you pull 5 successes out, you make the save, period. Other player. He got a critical success. He rolled 5 successes off of 4 dice. GM. What? No. NPC tries again. At this point, others are annoyed. We make our rolls, I'm still supervised, and I make the save again. In alternate realities, I must have won the lottery or avoided cancer, but all I got in this universe was insane dice luck in these rolls. GM. Well, NPC tries again, until you lose. Gaze of the Penitent means you are now at a -5 to everything you do for the next several hours. Most skills average 3 to 6 d10s. The GM's pettiness at Jack daring to see auras meant Jack could die in the upcoming encounter. A squirrel could have probably killed Jack. As we near the obvious site of the ambush, a church is in an eerily quiet part of the town. Somehow at the end of a long alleyway, Jack opts to stay in the car. It is, quite literally, the only thing he has a positive skill in currently. All of Jack's other skills were functionally negative, meaning I roll a single d10. Unless I roll a 10, it is considered a critical fail. In combat, Jack could easily hurt allies. In social, betray information, etc. The rest of the group agreed Jack should ride out the affliction in the car, or we should all wait until the next day. GM was obviously pissed at the players for this, forces the rest of the group to move forward with the encounter. GM. You guys arrive at the door. The priest nervously hands you a document and tells you to leave. You need to be at another church tomorrow to find the thing. What? GM. See? I am not trying to be the bad guy. I wasn't going to kill you. You were overreacting. It was obvious to everyone that the GM pulled the cop-out out of his ass at the last second. But it was not the only bullying he did against Jack. Any fancy gadget or ability Jack got was neutered, or Jack got severely punished for trying to use it in relatively benign situations. My melee weapon, sword, broke first time I used it, twice, 2 separate swords. No ability roll or anything. Other players never saw so much as a dulled blade. I use a firearm. Enemies have mysterious abilities used reflexively to negate all incoming damage. Mysterious abilities used only in response to my attacks. As an experiment, I gave a grenade to a fellow hunter. In their hands, it was super effective. TLDR, GM tried to gank my character for daring to try a new social ability in a social setting. I made a stupidly high save. He made me re-roll because he couldn't even. I made it again, with a critical success. He made me roll again. I succeeded again. He then declared for story reasons that I failed. Then made fun of me for being paranoid after I was reduced to the challenge rating of a carnival goldfish. This guy was obviously not a very good GM, and it seemed like he had something against OP. There was certainly a red flag, and they honestly should have said something to the DM, but I understand how hard it is to, especially in the moment, because it is a little bit harder to notice things like that. But it's been 10 plus years, there's really no reason to do anything about it now, but they wanted to just talk about it, which is perfectly fine. I hope I never experience a GM like this, because honestly, it wouldn't make the game very fun. They were going against everything OP did. It was like they had something against them. But anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.